So I'm using just an angle grinder and one of these 3M roll-lock discs. They're great to have around. Fairly cheap, and yeah, they last pretty good. I get them at Harbor Freight, which we all know is the best way to get most things. Some people argue it's even better than to buy cheap tools, and you can replace them 2 or 3 times, still be money ahead. One thing that is going to happen anytime you cut threads is you're going to mess up the last thread, and so you're not going to be able to get a nut on there very easily. Now this is the factory end, so I know a nut is going to thread through here, but what I like to do, if I was working on this piece and cutting it at both ends, I would put a nut in the middle, or 2 nuts in the middle, and after you're done cutting it, then run the nut out, and it'll help chase the threads, especially if it's a grade 8 bolt. Threads, the steel's real strong, and it'll help thread that through. This doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to all get welded, and you can see you want to get all those pieces of metal out. And I've got something for the inside here I'll show you next. So I'm going to change out this angle grinder for this straight grinder with just a straight circular burr, and because I don't want to angle into it, I want to grind it all the way around, nice and flat and circular. So may need to open this up about 1 millimeter or 2, just because of the it's a very tight fit, and when I weld this tube, it may close up a little bit, so I'll use this to ream it out a little bit. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, but just like that, just cleaning it out a little bit. I gotta get the other side, but hope you can see that. Just at this top edge, it's got molten metal right there, and I'm just gonna clear that off. Okay, so that's nice and clear, and once I get it welded, then I'll go around the inside on both sides and make sure I have clearance on the pinch, the toe hit the little toe pins that this will pinch onto. Okay, that is complete. Well, what I'm attempting to do here, I thought about drilling a hole and then tapping it to get for these threads, but I have a nut that would go on the back of this. This actually I bought as a spare for this drill press, and this one's still good, so I have this one laying around. And when I buy stuff like this, it's cheaper, it's better to buy a couple, because the shipping is so expensive when you buy it online. So that's what I did. I think I bought 3 of these, They're only about $10. So I'm gonna weld a nut on here, but I need to recess an opening so this can just go down there. The nut will probably take up that much slack, so I only need to be in about that far. So I'm there already. I've just drilled a small hole. Now I'm going to measure the width of this. I forget what the shank is, and the diameter here. Make sure I have a drill bit large enough to allow it to just slide in there as it threads into the nut that I'll weld here on top. Alright, that's nice.
Well, in case you were confused about that handle, this is the handle that I'm using, and you can see it comes as part of this assembly. This broke off of my drill press. This is a Craftsman 15-inch drill press, and that broke off, and this is the replacement part. You can't just get the handle. There is a nut that is molded into this plastic. That's the lock nut. It's just it locks by an interference fit, or in other words, the threads are either it's oblong or the threads are cut different, and it's self-locking. It makes such a tight interference fit on the threads that it won't back out. But this is what I ordered, 2 of them. Once again, shipping is so expensive compared to the cost of the part that I just ordered 2 of these. So this one, I was wrong when I said that this is what I'm using in that tow bar, and this was the only thing I managed to salvage, because this is just cheap plastic, and made in China, and this is all I was able to salvage, plus the nut that came out of there, and that's what I'm using. So actually that worked out nice. I was able to reuse that part and repurpose it. Alright, I widened that hole out a little bit, oversized, so there's some play here. Again, the tension is going to be taken up by the nut. This is just a recess in there so that this threaded portion has somewhere to go. There'll be a nut welded up on top there, so that should work. And alright, we'll go up to the welding table, and I'll show you the layout, basically, I guess, before we bead blast, clean everything up, take all the plating off, and mill scale off, and then start welding. Well, I've got all the parts I think I'm going to need all cleaned up. Took all the plating off of all the components, and cleaned them off with some acetone, just some store-bought. And you can use brake cleaner or whatever. Acetone seems to be a favorite of Jody at weldingtipsandtricks.com, so that's what I'm going to use. I've cleaned off the tips of these. That's all I'm going to do. I'll just rough sand this before I paint. Give it a little quick scrub with sandpaper, but I'm only interested in the areas where I'm going to weld. But you got to get all that mill scale, I think they call it, off of the pieces. You can see how it looks different. It's almost like a primer coat and then a top coat of something that they put on at the factory and or the mill, and I want to get that off before welding. So the next step will be start assembling this. I think I've got all the pieces cleaned and ready to go.